We're back with another one, people. Today we're going to be talking about another very important topic, which is why teachers make for the best tech salespeople. Some of the best tech salespeople. I mean, obviously we work with a wide range of backgrounds here, but I'm joined by my good friend Norman. Norman, how's it going today?
What's going on? I'm really excited to talk about this.
I
Yeah.
am pretty excited to hear about this because this is actually not a demographic that actually sticks out when you're thinking about tech sales. You think about like a lot of people that are coming in from like real estate or from parallel sales industries, but teachers, anybody in particular within the sub demographic, like high school teachers, elementary school, or like actually, we dialed it back. When did you start noticing that this was kind of a thing that teachers wanted to break into tech sales?
So we've been in operation formally since really when the pandemic hit. And it was at this time that we started having lots of teachers who were rethinking what their next step in their career would be. Oftentimes, it was already what most teachers have challenges with, which is overworked and underpaid. But then throw in a pandemic on top of that, and there was a lot of interest in how can I take some of the skills we've already earned and apply them into new industries. So pretty much since our inception, we've had a good amount of folks who are teachers wanting to be break into a career in tech and tech sales.
Got it, got it. And then to kind of move all the way to the front of the
Yeah.
business instead of talking about the middle, how do teachers actually like? How do they perform against their other counterparts that may have like? I'm pretty sure there's a lot of great transitional skills that teachers have, like off the
Right.
top of my head, because they have to
Right.
not transactional for them. They gotta, I mean, essentially speaking, I'm assuming they gotta sell like, administrators and,
Yep.
the form of their version of management on additional resources, parents, hardest stakeholders of all, kids.
Yep.
But like, how do they compete against like their counterparts that are coming in from like transactional sales or sales background?
So it's a pretty even playing field, and it's extremely surprising because as a teacher, what it turns out that teachers have a lot of intangible skills that most even professions, even if you come from a sales background, aren't inherently something you bring to the table. So, for example, teachers are very customer facing. We know this. Their customers, their students, and depending on the age group, you could have some really difficult customers. And so there's a level of emotional intelligence that a teacher who has experience has almost innately because they have so many years of experience dealing with, if you will, difficult customers, that as a teacher, when you are speaking with your students and they're working through something that they're overwhelmed with as it relates to their curriculum, you have to have some really great consultative sales skills. You have to not only think about what that student is bringing to you, which in sales we might call that the objection. What is some objection they're bringing that stops them from moving forward in their progress? But you have to think about what's behind that, right? And that's very unlike a transactional sales approach. So most folks who have sales experience, if they come from a door-to-door car sales, they have this transactional sales skill set, meaning they, in the moment, hear an objection from a customer and they immediately think about how they can overcome that objection to get the customer to say yes. Well, as a teacher, you have to take a totally different approach, right? You have to stop, pause, think about where that student is, and think about what questions and what comments are going to allow that student to open up to then enable you to move this conversation in the next direction, right? So that's a consultative skill set that you have. And in tech sales, these are consultative sales. You are building long-term relationships with your customers, and you're doing that by asking them really good, deep questions that get them to open up about their problems and allow you to guide them in the next step in their solution, which hopefully is the company or this product that you represent. So, just a couple of other great intangible skill sets that teachers bring to the table obviously relates to patience, right? So, the same difficult customers that you all have, your students, right? Those relationships are built over time. So you are patient yet doggedly following up and making sure that you're building these relationships with your students and they're getting to the point of trusting you to guide their journey. It's the exact same experience, albeit a different age group and different set of challenges with buyers in business to business sales. The first time you meet with them, the first time you connect with them, you're not going to move a conversation forward. It will take patience. It will take listening. It'll take asking some of those good questions, that consultative sales approach. And then over time, you will earn that trust and you will move the conversation, the potential relationship forward. You have to be personalized, right? In order for you to build that trust, you have to be speaking directly to that student and in tech sales directly to that buyer. So they can't feel like whatever direction you're giving them or guidance you're giving them is the same thing you would say it's very boilerplate to any other student or any other buyer. Exact experience in tech sales. You're working with leaders of industry that are giving you their time. When you have this relationship and this communication with them, it has to feel extremely personalized, as if you thought deeply about their potential challenges as an owner of a company or a leader in a company, and you've thought deeply as to how your product or your solution can benefit them, and you've delivered it that way. That's that level of personalization that most great teachers already bring to the table. And then finally, you're an educator, and that alone sets you apart, right? Sales and building these relationships and business to business sales is about gaining trust and then educating the buyer so that they maintain that trust with you, right? You are the most experienced and educated person in the room on your solution. So when you are building this relationship with buyers, you have to do some really great research to understand their challenges. And then when you are presenting the potential solution for them, you're actually educating them on what's available to them in this market amongst all the other products or solutions they could be choosing. You're the expert in the room. You are offering that education to the buyer. And you already ideally have some years of experience doing that, presenting new information and educating customers, your students, on potential options going forward in their journey. It's the same experience for a buyer in business to business sales. So overall, those are just a handful of intangibles that educators already bring to the table. And then what we do is develop their sales acumen, giving them specific techniques, mindset, and skills around delivering a sales presentation so that they can become qualified SDRs and land a role in tech sales.
That's crazy. I'm taking on some of the notes of what it is that you're saying out here. I also think that they have some of the intangible skills that they have is like if you think about the average elementary school teacher has about 30 on average about 30 to 35 students in a classroom, right?
Yep.
And I mean that's if they're like in a civilized public school district, like sometimes it could be upwards of like 40 to 50. And
Yep.
if you multiply that with like how they have to navigate the relationship between these kids and the parents, and then you have mom and dad, now you are multiplying the stakeholders by three.
Yep.
And like when you have your parent teacher conferences, you're talking about like, hey, what do we this student here is doing very well in English, but what we really need to get their math grades up or they're struggling here. You have different targets that you're moving. And when that report card comes out, like every single quarter, every semester, you are trying to get to that next deliverable. And it's not quick where you can go ahead and turn it around, but
Yep.
you're multitasking. I mean, if you think about it, I think even driving success for 10 individuals is enough to kill somebody, right? They're they're doing it usually for 30 stakeholders,
Yeah.
right? And then on top of that, you got your meetings with like I remember when I was in school, like they have meetings with like the other teachers in the same school district, and then you got to play the politics game with the principals. If you add in all of that, that's a highly qualified person for this type of role of relationship management.
Exactly.
If you couple that in with, you know, in your racket, you can have 30 4.0 GPA grads,
Yep.
but get nothing
Yep.
at all. And probably, in some places you might even have to pay for your own parking permit. But now you take them in an environment, and that's 100% done in person too. So now you put them in an environment where it's like they're working from home, they can optimize their workstation, and a lot of teachers have families, and they got to go ahead and manage that dynamic with their own,
Right.
right?
Right.
You all of a sudden take them into that. I'd say that battlefield that has no financial upside, and then you put them into a racket that's
Yeah.
got a whole lot of financial upside.
Right.
So like they're already used to delayed gratification, because I think the tough thing about the transactional sales guys and girls that come into this is they're so used to that, like I'm getting rewarded quickly, that all of a sudden this idea of like delayed gratification of a much bigger payout, but obviously you're in a field like tech that's
Yep.
got a really bright future, but they got to really hold back. I think it's harder. But if you take somebody that their reward oftentimes is not even appreciated by the parents, of like how much behind the scenes work that they did. When you put them into this bracket, they absolutely just crush it.
I'd like to say that, to everyone who's listening, if you are a teacher, a teacher, you are already a salesperson, right? Like the best way to think about this is that sales is nothing different than what you're already doing right now. As Rich is sharing, you're selling to an internal and external stakeholder, right? Your internal might be your staff, your principals, folks you're selling onto your teaching style, different tools that you want to incorporate into the curriculum that's going to make a more effective learning experience. All of these types of conversations, like Rich is sharing, take time. The delayed gratification of this, you're already in relationship-based sales. 3 months, 6 months before you start seeing an outcome that was your initial vision for these conversations internally. And then the external, right? The parents, the students, you're selling them on your ability to be a strong teacher, on your ability to give personalized, because every teacher, every parent wants personalized attention to their students, right? Their ability to level up in different curricula, math, reading, etc. And just like Rich is saying, no one gives you credit for that until multiple months down the road, if not a year plus. So this is relationship-based sales. The first thing you should do if you're interested in this space is get the idea of you knocking on doors and having this high pressure person who hates the idea of speaking to you out the window. That's not you at all, and that is not the experience. It's everything you're doing right now. It's organization management, right? Your internal organization, the schools, the districts, the colleagues that you have, and then external organization, supporting the families of your students and the students themselves. That's what you do as an SDR. Only in tech sales, perhaps your income is unlimited if you do really well.
Have you noticed from the career trajectory, like
Yeah.
what are the types of companies
Mhm.
that teachers are ending up at? Because compared to, I think, when we were going to school, obviously a lot more technology is implemented in the classroom right now.
Mhm.
Do you see them because they have that education domain experience, that they're going to a lot of education tech companies, or is it kind of across the board just like everybody else?
Great question. So first of all, I will say we absolutely love teachers, not only because of the intangibles, but also because they're some of the hardest workers, most attention to detail, have the most amount of perseverance, because delayed gratification is part of the job. So absolutely love them. And it shows up in interviews with employers, because an employer that's thinking about a new candidate to the field of tech sales, someone that doesn't already have 3 years of experience at a different company or similar company, they're testing how you're going to show up. They're testing your skill, but they're also testing how you're going to show up in these conversations with leaders at different companies, right? Your buyers. So when they speak with teachers, it kind of already shines through really clearly the professionalism and the business acumen that teacher may have. So EdTech 100%, but really any sort of complex sales, There are complex sales like cybersecurity sales or cloud computing sales, really deep technical types of sales that really align well to a teacher's experience because teachers typically will have a higher level of business acumen in addition to sales. So business acumen being they understand how a solution can impact the entirety of an organization. Because again, if you are trying to pitch new ideas internally to a school, to a district, to your colleagues, it takes time. You need a lot of stakeholder alignment. You're asking other teachers to be on board with you. You're asking a principal or someone just below to support an initiative. So you have to think about the overall organization and how that organization is being impacted. So solutions that have really big and deep impact that are technical, ed tech solutions for sure. Cybersecurity, cloud computing, deeper technical, 100%. Teachers do really, really well in those interviews. Right? And then you can say generally, there's a lot of tech solutions like marketing tech. So tech solutions that are customer facing that because teachers have such a great experience with customers, students, right, and understanding the customer psychology, they will tend to do really well in those organizations as well. But most people who are breaking into sales cannot get the same jobs that teachers might be able to get to because they don't have the same business level of business acumen, understanding of how a solution impacts an organization as a whole. So I think that's how teachers have actually a leg up in the industry.
I think from what I've also seen, it's just pre-chat GPT, I think teachers really mastered, probably have the 8th degree black belt in learn hacking. Because like if you're talking about most of the teachers right now, even the youngest ones were reading actual physical paper textbooks, right? Like for me, I couldn't stand it. I see how information is being transferred right now, and I think I would have done a lot better in school. Like if I had a chance to go back, but like being able to go out there and take like 9 chapters in a textbook, and they had like all the every teacher that I've met, they have like all the sticky notes and like the highlights, the underlining. So I feel like uh teachers have this advantage of being able to digest complex information that's very boring and mundane that a lot of people would not have the attention span for. Reading like just gosh, that's actually the reason why I decided, even though I was a history major getting ready to go to law school, so I'm not going to do it because like that's just way too much reading. They could actually take like different subjects and just completely digest it. I think probably better than a lot of other people can.
And then tailor it
Right.
to the customer, the student.
Right.
You see? So it's the same thing. It's that level of business acumen and the attention to detail, the ability to digest all of this information that you can, if you're trained, you can get into any of the same roles in tech sales that folks who are trained and have some experience will get into, but you will also have a leg up because you're already pre-trained in addition to your sales skill, but you're already pre-trained to handle a level of complexity that most are not able to handle coming into this sphere.
I mean, for any teacher that's out there, they most likely have had to communicate difficult, complex concepts to an international student where English is not their first language.
Right.
So to be able to simplify, break down something that's very complex and make it digestible to somebody where English is not their native tongue. Again, one field offers no financial upside. Zero financial upside, zero gratitude, zero appreciation. You don't get any you don't get any pats from the back from the principal to the parents, the kids. Uh I think tech sales starts looking like a way better option moreover.
We'd
Uh
love to have you.
yeah. So if you're out there watching this right now and you're an educator, I think there might be a lot of anxiety believing that you may not be able to do it. But I think across from everything what Norman has told me, a lot of the innate skills that you already have that is actually I don't think very trainable. The patience is not trainable in sales. I think you either really come into it that instinct, you either have it or you don't. The ability to go out there and digest and consume and aggregate complex concepts, information, be able to simplify that And also being able to delay that gratification, that's also something that's not trainable. Outlier situation, some people might surprise you, but
Yeah.
99% of the time it's a hard thing, right? So if you're watching this right now and you are in the education space, please go ahead and download the PDF that's in the description. Definitely contact us. We would love to talk to you. Uh,
Please. You are going to do amazing in this sphere. Reach out.
well, last words is you don't know what's going to happen after the call. You might decide to enroll and embark on this wonderful journey to tech sales, or you might decide that you don't. But I think largely if you stay in education, I'm assuming most of the teachers that would be watching this is in public education. Um, the data would indicate that public education has been on a downward trajectory for about 5 decades, and I have a hard time subscribing to the theory that things are going to change dramatically in the next 5 decades. So you do know what's going to happen if you stay. So give us a call. We'd love to go ahead and talk to you. Thanks, Norman. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you,
man.
Steve. All right. See you soon.